Hello all and welcome. I keep doing that. I keep leaving my mic at the top. And welcome to episode 28 of the Sky Fantasy Football Podcast by Fantasy Football Hub. My name is Andrew and tonight I'm joined by three of the most successful Sky managers in the game. Firstly, Paul McAnulty. How was your Sky weekend gone, Paul?
Yeah, it's went alright for you. I had Bruno captain yesterday. I know
Very nice.
a lot of people did. Captain on Friday night that returned, unlike Wilson, and I had Kane today, so it's been quite a good weekend.
Very good. We also have former Sky winner Dan Cox with us. Dan, how was your weekend gone?
We'll see how this Aston Villa Arsenal finishes up, mate. But it's been all right, but could be better. We'll just see how this goes. If Arsenal can not score in the next 5 minutes,
All hanging on for a clean sheet for Martinez, I think, with about 5 minutes left or something like that. Hopefully, I don't have to shout there's been another goal, but we'll see. There's 5 minutes to go. And as our YouTube viewers can see, we also have current reigning Sky champion Liam Dorrian back on with us. Liam, it's great to have you on again. How are things going?
Thank you. Yeah, great to be back on. Had a good week. I had Ben White on Friday, and Bruno is so keen today. So yeah, I've had a good week. So no complaints.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And how was your season started, Liam? Are you kind of on track with last year? Are you doing all right?
Yeah, beginning to go on track. I had the best start was terrible. I didn't have no Spurs, no Kane, Son. I had no Salah, so I was actually 20k. So I'm up now to 3.5k. So
decent.
Yeah, climbing up.
Very good. We'll have a chat in a bit, Liam, about how you're comparing this season against last one. Obviously, being the winner of last year, I think everyone would be really, really interested, in how you're going this year compared to last. So we'll do that. Okay. As we are live, please feel free to join in the chat at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics or the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions for us to answer at the end. Good evening, Hornet. Yes, Toast 84, Tom Hartnell, Waka Baby, Yvonne. Hornet, Martin Beasley, Owain Jones, Andrew Patterson, Michael Luong, Jonathan Maloney. Great to have you all on as well as everyone else. Come on and say hello. Tell us how your week has gone, everyone. For any new watchers and listeners, if you haven't subscribed just yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss our live streams, which are 9 p.m. every Sunday right here on this channel. We have just reached 1,000 subscribers, which for a channel which only started in January is very good. So thank you so much, Evan, for joining us. I've got some details of a giveaway which I will touch on now in a second. So for this evening, Paul will share some stats with us. Dan will share some ownership stats and some transfer stats. We're going to have a look back at the first 8 sets of matches to discuss what we have learned so far. We have asked last year's champ Liam to try and compare his position at this point last season to where he is now and his thoughts on his progress so far this season. We will answer a couple of strategic Twitter questions, update our podcast team, give some mini league updates, and finish off with Andrew's questionable bet result and Dan's rant. So we've got a packed show tonight. We will leave the player A or B questions until next week, by which time we should know a bit more about the upcoming fixture schedule and any international injuries or COVID issues. And finally, we will be giving away a Fantasy Football Hub mug to the watcher who gives us the best lesson learned throughout the show. So Liam, you're going to be the judge of this evening. So we want everyone to post their best lessons learned in the chat. And then Liam at the end of the show. So make a note of your favourite ones, Liam, and whichever one you pick at the end will be the one who will win the Fantasy Football Hub mug. So straight into it. And Paul, do you want to share your weekly stats? We do have some screenshots courtesy of ffstuff.co.uk. If you don't follow at ffstuff, make sure you do for everything Sky Fantasy, Telegraph Fantasy, and some Dream Team. He is an absolute legend.
Yeah, the Twitter handle's at ffstuff3, but his website's the site, the URL that you mentioned. So Friday night stats, just looking at the Brighton, Burnley and Southampton Newcastle game. Brighton, Burnley, there wasn't much in terms of bonus. Basuma got tackles again, 6 successful tackles. And then what was coming our tradition at the end of the season, you can see a Pope 11 pointer there with 3 saves. So maybe he's coming back on the radars for those that are looking for a goalkeeper switch. And I think Burnley's got potentially a couple of games that could be moved to Monday and Friday nights coming up as well. So he might be an option for those managers that are seeking for a captain. And then in the Southampton-Newcastle game, a lot of bonus for Southampton. Only Darlow picked up the bonus for saves for Newcastle. But you can see there, both Romeo and Ward-Prowse picking up double bonus for passes and tackles. You got Adams, Luke Williams, who was on our live stream on Friday, owned and captained. So he got tier 2 shots there as well. And I know Vestergaard, who is quite highly owned. People had picked him up the previous week, for the game. So they got the goal for Vestergaard against Villa last week, and then with the captain done for a 9-pointer there on Friday night as well. So well done to those that made that move. Moving on to Saturday's games. So you see Everton, Manchester United, Holgate, who picked up passes and tackle bonus as well. I kind of pride myself on knowing the prices of the majority of players in the game, and I actually hadn't looked at Holgate once. And I was surprised to see he cost more than Michael Keane. So I guess he won't come onto people's radars for looking for a future transfer. Coleman picking up tackles, Allen picking up in tackles as he has been doing so far this season with 6, Doucouré as well. And then Fernandes picking up the shots. He was only 1 tackle away as well, which I know a lot of us were looking out for, although he had been booked at that point. So perhaps we were happy that he was staying on his feet. In Palace Leeds, so there wasn't much in terms of bonus from Palace's side. Leeds, Dallas didn't pick up any, but Aylan picked up both tier 2 passing and tier 2 tackles. So from what a game of a lot of people picking up minus points from there, the Dallas owners, Aylan actually picked up 5 positives. So it was a decent return from him. Chelsea, Sheffield United, so Chilwell picked up both shots and passing tier, so he's looked at a shrewd investment for anybody that's went him. Similarly, the remainder of the back 3 picked up passing bonus as well, with Kante picking up both sets of bonus there. West Ham Fulham, there wasn't much in terms of, there was no double bonus, and I guess the highlight for me was that Kearney didn't pick up passing bonus, so that's 2nd game in a row that he's not picked that up now, so he's kind of dropped off any potential Fulham captaincy that I might require moving forward. I think I'd be more inclined to skip it now as opposed to getting in someone from there.
We'll touch more on Kearney later, Paul, I think, when it comes to our bet results, because we made a bet last week, but we'll touch on that later.
Right. I'd forgotten about
that. I had, mate, don't worry.
So I've not got the Arsenal Villa stats because that was obviously just finishing up just now. West Brom, Spurs, there was only 3 bonus points awarded for players, so Johnston, Ajayi and Højbjerg, who I think would have disappointed owners by him picking up tackling bonus after 25 minutes and just missing out on passing bonus, so unlucky there. Leicester, Wolves, again, very few bonus there. Vardy picked up tier 2 shots. Tielemans, who's going under the radar a little bit, 69 passes, so just tier 1 passing for him. But I think Fofana was the standout there. He didn't pick up any bonus, but picked up man of the match award, and there was only 1 tackle away.
And they have fixtures soon. They go on a really nice run, don't they, Leicester? I think it's after next week. So
yeah, he's not got this on-to bonus magnet about him, but his price and he's catching the eye for those watching as well. So I imagine he'll pick up the odd man of the match or continue to pick up those. And then City, Liverpool, Diaz and Laporte picking up passing bonus, Cancelo with the tackle bonus, and that was it in terms of bonus from that game as well. So probably would have disappointed a lot of owners in that game.
Lovely job. Thank you very much, Paul. Great information and stats there. And as I say, we encourage everyone go to ffstuff.co.uk where you can see all this. He does this now as a live match centre, so as the game is going on, you can actually see the points and tackles and whatever else all tick along as you do it. Couple of things quickly. So the match is finished. So it's finished Arsenal 0, Aston Villa 3. So good for anyone who had Martinez in goals. I think one of our listeners also had Konza as well. So well done there. We wait to see who has the man of the match. We've also had quite a few lessons learned, which I will just scroll up a bit and we will touch on now. Glenn Murray said, should have took my advice, Fergie, Ings to White. Well, maybe right, Glenn. Yeah, I think that's fair. Martin Beasley says, stick to the obvious captain is my lesson. Tom Climpson's always captain Bruno away from home. Auto reclose. Sun is not Spurs coverage in Sky when it comes to Kane. Michael Yuang lesson. Captain Bruno. Off spinner in a hurry. Zaytek, I think he means Ziyech, is a must pick rest of season. His lesson learned. Chris D, don't chase captains with glass knees. I managed to chase 2 of them in the last week, Chris. So feel your pain there. Is that what you've done? Michael N, Bruno is another KDB of the game, irrespective of how well Man U is playing. I would agree with that there. Andrew Patterson, disables view on attacking options, work it out than a defensive for captaincies more often than not. Reese Bloomer, lesson learned, Højbjerg is Mr. Reliable. England family, lesson learned, do as Fergie says, not as he does. Spot on there, mate. Read my articles, do what I say in my articles, but don't follow my actual moves. SDT Flower Pot Man 4, lesson learned, never eat yellow snow. Very, very wise words there, Flower Pot Man. Thank you for that. And yes, toast. Liverpool defenders are not essential. Jonathan Maloney, never overlook Jamie Vardy, almost another big points haul today. And although I consider it expensive at 10.8, I think he'll be in my team soon. I'm sure we'll probably have a chat about that next week, I would guess. Forward to game week 10. So thank you so much, everyone, for your lessons learned. Please keep them coming in. And Liam is obviously keeping tabs on his favourite one. We've just had another few more in there. Peter Corley, don't transfer in a player to cover a Friday Monday game if you don't want them long term. Peter, I wish I'd listened to on Friday when I brought in Callum Wilson. Jason Jones, always check captains, always take a Fergie bet. That's a bit cheeky there, Jason. Fair play, always take a Fergie bet. Transfers are gold. Phil Speck, lesson learned. Given the fixtures after the break, say goodbye to any Leeds assets. Paul Tinkler, Liam is a god. You cannot pick that one, Paul, as your best one there, right? Leeds defenders concede a lot of goals. It's amazing that when we've got a mug to give away, how much more interaction we get. Look on the stream. It's absolutely unbelievable anyway. Thank you so much for all those. Keep them coming. So Dan, on to you, on to some ownership stats.
Right. I'll do the top transfers ins and outs. So this is since last Sunday. This is all from FF Stuff, fantastic website. So cheers to him. The top ins since last week. Ward-Prowse into 17,000 teams. Jamie Vardy into 14,000 teams. Ziyech into 12,000 teams. Zuma into 12,000 teams. And Chilwell into 7,000 teams. So maybe that's some Liverpool defenders going into Chilwell and Zuma there. But, 3 Chelsea players there. So, yeah, see how that's going. The top 5's outs were Ings, 18,000 teams. Havertz out of 17,000 teams. That's been a nightmare, isn't it? Castanaga, we'll call him.
We'll go with
out of 11,000 teams. Pulisic out of 8,000 teams. Again, that's annoying in the week when it's... at least he said he weren't going to be playing the weekend. So that's him. Antonio out of another 7,000 teams. Just a bit, I think if you've taken him out this week, he should have been gone before, really. You could have had 2 games out, another game out someone else. And then Mitchell from Palace out of 4,000 teams. Injured, and like you said last week, he's injured and PVA's back now. So there's him. I'll just go, I know it's the top 5, but then Martinez, who's just kept a clean sheet, was taken out of 4,500 teams. And Calvert-Lewin's been taken out of almost 4,500 teams. So have people lost patience with Calvert-Lewin? And I'll say Martinez out of that many teams, and he just kept a clean sheet. So that's your luck. So that's the main ins and outs.
I think just on Calvert-Lewin, we did a Sunday night stream, didn't we, about a month ago, and we said we wondered if Richarlison's ban would actually impact Everton's output. I think it absolutely has. I'd be leaving him in. I think they've got, is it Fulham first week back? Richarlison is going to be back. I think they've got a nice run of 3 games. I want to say Leeds and Burnley after that as well. Liam, is that right? Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they got Fulham, then Leeds, then Burnley. So they've a good 3 fixtures coming up.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to leave him in personally, but anyway, apologies, Dan.
That's fine, mate. I'll do you the 10 top-owned players. So we have been doing it overall, but then I think we noticed like last week, like Aubameyang was still in about 25% of teams, whereas we don't think most engaged managers would have him because you don't need him as a captain. So this week I've gone on to the top 1,000, and I know that's dodgy because the top 1,000 have got like not many transfers left, but I'll go through it anyway.
Yeah.
So Kane, this was as of midday today. Kane was in 90% of teams. Bruno was in 84%. Grealish was in 73%. Salah in 43%. Zaha in 43%. Vardy in 41%. Chilwell in 39%. De Bruyne in 37%. Patricio in 33%, and then Zuma in 32%. So that's the top 1,000 teams percentage, not overall.
Thank you very much, mate. Wonderful stat, which I did see last week as well, actually, that Everton have not won since 2018 without Richarlison in the side. Which, I think I saw a stat. I think I saw something like on his debut, they may have lost. I think, but after that, every game he's been in the side, they haven't lost or something like that. It's an incredible stat if that's right. But it just proves, how important he is. And we just had a big shout out then for Vestergaard then as well, which what a pick off Joe Gallagher's last 6, 777,979, 6.4 million. We touched on him last week, didn't we? What a pickup he's been. So congratulations anyone who's on it. And a lesson for you, Dan, off Mark Daniels. Castagny. 3 syllables.
Castagny. Yeah. I'll practice. I'll practice. I'll break it into 3 bits.
Well, I think as Paul mentioned earlier, he said it's lasagna, but use cast instead of last. Paul, was that?
I'd have just said cast lasagna though.
That's lasagna.
I'd have forgot to done the. The Leicester defender.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully, he won't be in any ownership things in the future. People will start not picking him, so I don't have to mention him.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, thank you, Dan. Wonderful stat, and again, thank you to FF staff for all the graphics. No, it's all good.
Do you want me to do the transfers now?
Please,
as well?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So the average transfers remaining, the top 10 was 8.7, and this was as of Wednesday. So you can imagine it's gone down again on the weekend. So 8.7 for the top 10. So good luck for the next 30 weeks. The top 100 is 15.2. The top 1,000 was 23, and the top 5,000 was 26.7.
Oh,
so if you've got more than that, you're doing all right.
I think so. I've used. We'll touch on this a bit more, in lessons learned. But I've used 7 transfers. I should have used 6, and if I'd have stayed with the 6, I think I would be really, really happy with my position. But I did that Wilson transfer on Friday, and it just completely blew up in my face in every way possible. But we'll touch on that more in the lessons learned, obviously. Liam, okay, we are all desperate to know, mate. So your position last year in terms of maybe, points and transfers and rank and stuff, compared to where you are this year now, to give us all some hope of winning the 50k. What's the comparison and what can you tell us?
So both years I had a bad start. So this overhaul and last overhaul, I was both 20k, and now I'm roughly in the same position. So we're in week 8 now. So I know from looking through my past Twitter comments, replying to Dan. So after 10 weeks last year, I was just outside the top 1,000. I'd only used 5 transfers. So I was pretty kind of lenient on the transfers. I didn't use many. And then at Christmas, I was just outside the top 100. And I think I had 25 or so transfers left. So I'm always kind of cautious at the start. But then once I got past Christmas, that's when I started to see real gains in my position, because I had plenty of transfers left, so I used them. So on the 14th of January, I was 82nd overall. So that was when I first got in the top 100. Then on the 29th of January, I was 38th overall. And then at the second overhaul, I was 25th, and I had 15 transfers left. You might have seen that I replied to you that before the overhaul, I had a few transfers left over. And that's when I brought in Callum Wilson, and I brought in Ismaili Sarr. Didn't do well. I think Sarr got injured after 2 games, so I didn't bother transferring him out. Callum Wilson, I think he could give me more yellow cards than he got goals. So I kind of wasted transfers then. But I think what's the second overhaul, I was 25th, 15 transfers. I was in really, really good position. I think now planning, you should really be setting your targets. So kind of Christmas, have 25 above. Don't go below that, because Christmas is earlier this year too. And then even too for the overhaul, I would say don't go below 15. At the max, do not go below 15. Be very careful transfers this year, because I plan to make 2 or 3 this weekend. But when you think you got COVID, all the internationals, I held back, and it actually worked out well. Because if you made 3 or 4 transfers this week, well, if players get injured or COVID, you could be burned through transfers. So your second overall was 25th, so it was a good position. And then I noticed that on the 21st of June, after the restart, I was 29th. I had 8 transfers left. And then I did drop back. I had a bad week, and I actually dropped back to 48th overall. So
Nightmare.
I think I was I was 40th overall.
Yeah.
I was 100, nearly almost 100 points behind Aaron Derrick. I think they were flying the top.
Oh.
But the difference I had 7 transfers left. When you come to business end season, like having them transfers are so important. As we've seen, I can't remember, Sanoku, the boy from Leicester, he got red card against Bournemouth, and so many people were stunned for him. They stuck him. But yeah, one that has 40th, that's when went to my run and my transfers. What I was saying about transfer to end, just because you have transfers at the end of the year doesn't mean you're going to climb up. It's about using them transfers very, very wisely. That's why I did mine. So all my picks, my transfers, they worked out well. So just because you have transfers left over, it's not going to guarantee. You have to use them wisely. Don't be bringing in Andy Carroll or Haller. You've got to be using them very, very sensibly. Also, Keith and I, for my transfers, it's almost like a foundation of a house. So if you have a solid foundation with your keeper, your defenders, that allows you to use most of your transfers for your midfielders and strikers, and that's where you can make the most points. So if you're chopping, changing your defenders every 2-3 weeks, well, you'll waste your transfers. Whereas for me, I try not to. Whereas I do like Kane to Sterling to Aubameyang. So I'm taking out in and out these big hitters, and that's where you make the points. So try and get a settled goalkeeper, back four, and then that's you sorted. Then you can just use your transfers on the big hitting players. So that's my tips.
Superb.
Yeah, just set your targets and try and stick to them. Don't mind you go over, but for Christmas, don't go below 25, because otherwise, in the last week or two, you're going to be in trouble. You'll be looking over your shoulder. So that's my tips.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Liam. Really, really great advice there. And it's quite it's quite scary to think that you had 25 left, but in terms of your position and rank now to where you were then, you had 35 transfers left after game week 10, which is obviously, I think that's next week now, and is that right? After next game week,
I think we're 8 now, so yeah, I've only used 5 at the minute, so yeah, I'm still
just and just outside the top 1,000, I would bet there is probably people in this chat, who are roughly around that kind of rank now, I would guess, and there's a few of us, a little bit behind or whatever else. But thank you. One of the main questions I've got for you, Liam, and this is really important, I think it's something probably which everyone wants to kind of know. On these dodgy Friday and Monday captaincies, let's use last Friday as an example, right, where you had Brighton against Burnley and Southampton against Newcastle. If you didn't have a captain for that game, would you have brought in a captain for that game, or under what circumstances would you have brought one in?
I was lucky I had Ben White, but if I didn't have somebody, I probably wouldn't. So I'm thinking Southampton, Ainsley's out. He's the main man. Che Adams, he's hit and miss. So I'm thinking Newcastle. What Newcastle play? They play defensively. Hope to get a knock on goal. They don't attack much, so that's why I'd never go with Callum Wilson. And even though he did well against Everton, if Callum Wilson didn't do well against Everton, nobody would be mentioning. And then he did well against Everton, and it was like, oh, Callum Wilson, gotta get him in. But then you seen, he didn't know him. Same with Brighton too. Mopey, I wouldn't go near Brighton. Attacking wise, no. defensively, Brighton's been good. They've only conceded like 1 goal apart from Spurs game. Like, they've been very unlucky. And Burnley, I don't go near Burnley. I think Burnley might go down this year. They're very poor, but it kind of reminds me of James Ward-Prowse too. If James Ward-Prowse never got the goal, penalty, a man of the match against Aston Villa, nobody would be mentioning. Very few would be mentioned, but because he scored, everyone's, you've got to get him in. Yeah. So that's why I never got him in. But even looking ahead to 4 weeks' time, we got, I think, looking at £8 fixture predictor. I think it's Newcastle, they play Crystal Palace, and then Sheffield United, they play West Brom. I think I'll give that a miss too. Sheffield United, West Brom, there's nobody. Maybe Conor Gallagher for passing bonus, but to think you're going to transfer him in for one game, transfer him back. But my thinking is that come May, Kane could get injured, and then you could bring in somebody else, and everybody else might be out of transfers. So unless it was like a big team, unless the team like injured or they're playing well, I would. But apart from that, I wouldn't really. That game, the Friday game in 2 weeks' time, I think I might skip. I'll just hope for 2 1-1s. Zaha's playing well, but Zaha, he goes on these runs. But the problem is that Zaha too is that you're thinking that how's Zaha going to get points? It's going to be from goals and assists. He's not prolific. He's not going to get you passing bonus. Not going to get you shots maybe, but when the way Palace play, they're very, very defensive. They don't attack much. They've had the least shots in Premier League, so I think I'll take my chances with it. And because my thinking, people could think less short term, more long term. Because thinking, come the end of the season, that's when you're going to make the most points. I just see 9 made 100 points difference in 6 weeks. So you got to think of the long game, and thankfully the long game works for me last year. And I played out well. So yeah, just think of the long term game more than the short term games. That's all I say.
Fantastic advice, thank you there, Liam. I wish I'd kept your advice. And another piece of advice actually that was on Peter G was in the chat on Friday, and I was talking about bringing in Wilson, and he said last minute moves very, very really work out. But I was already kind of committed at the time to just doing it. But he's so right, unless it's something ridiculously obvious because of an injury or or something along those lines. But last minute moves really work out. So shout out there to Peter G. And just Glenn in the chat has mentioned a few times, and he's right. He told me to put Ben White in for Ings on Friday, and I didn't do that either. So Glenn, you are right. That was a good piece of advice, but sadly I didn't take it. And I say that's the one transfer. Yeah, go on, Dan.
Sorry, mate. I got the man of the match for the Villa game. Do you want any guesses?
Hansa.
Grealish.
Barkley.
Barkley, really? Oh, yeah.
Fair enough. He got an assist.
He had one assist, didn't he?
At least there weren't an Arsenal player. You never know with Sky, do you, at the minute?
Especially after that.
Hoping for a Grealish.
Yeah, Grealish would have been nice. 7 points. Okay, so moving on then, and on to some lessons learned so far this season. So I've just kind of made a couple of notes on the things, that I'm kind of thinking about now moving forward that I maybe not have put as much thought into at the start. Paul, can I come to you first? Have you got a point or two maybe about kind of things you've learned in the first 8 game weeks?
Yeah, I had Ings as well, but I don't think I regret that move because I knew that I was going to move Ings on to KDB anyway, and it was part of a string transfer. I picked up an additional 7 points that I wouldn't have picked up throughout it, albeit not ideal. But he was going to be really highly owned on that Friday night. And he has got pedigree, so it's not one of those choices that you're not picking the best player just because of players that are available. He's a good fantasy option anyway. So yeah, fine from that perspective. I do think that it's something that I've been conscious of before is, and it goes back to what Liam was saying there actually about the foundations of your team. Like, find those cheap enablers, the players that you want long term early on. So moved on Gabriel quite early. I know it didn't work. Still worked out today. He only picked up 2 points, but he did pick up passing bonus again, at least, and he seems to be picking up passing bonus every game. So he's someone that I'm going to hold in the long term. I know Dan got on Zuma early, so having and Diaz is another player that I think maybe all of us have. So getting the foundations in right, and then using your swaps then on the premium strikers is something. And then I guess the other thing, it was someone that in a WhatsApp chat with Dan and I, Mark Burgess, he said, he mentioned something about not swapping around 8 million bracket midfielders earlier on the season, because those players at that price point will get 2-2-2, 20, 2-2-2, 20, 2-2-2, and over the course of the season they'll average out decent points wise. But so Grealish is very much like that. Harvey Barnes is like that. And any time that you think that one of them's out of form and you switch to another, the player that you're getting rid of, there's a good chance that they're going to haul again, because there's always a haul just around the corner with that bracket. So I've kind of stuck with Grealish. We had Antonio, but I stuck with Grealish even though he hadn't looked on it in a couple of games, and I was getting itchy feet a little bit. But playing the long game, I knew we'd end up averaging out decent points coming into the season. So yeah, that's another thing that I've taken on board.
Cheers, Paul. How about you, Dan? What have you learnt since the start of the season?
So yeah, just backing up what Liam said. When I won, I think, I can't remember now because it was about 4 years ago, but I think I probably only made about 2 or 3 defensive or a keeper change. I just kept him in all season, because that's, like I said, like Martinez taken out of 5,000 teams. Well, why? Who have you done that for? Do you know what I mean? I just, just stick with him, I think, all season. I said, till Paul said, unless you've got someone who does emerge as they are the best of the cheap budget, then just like Patricio, he kept a clean sheet or whatever the other day, happy days for them owners, and Martinez they concede, and you're like, I should have had Patricio. Or what was the other one, Guy? I don't know if he's done anything, but people will be thinking, but that'll just all sort of balance out. They're all going to be about the same. One week will keep a clean sheet, the next they won't. I just think, just stick with who you got, and that's it really. But I'm going to, like my team, like Grealish, he's staying in all season unless he gets injured. Like I said, he might have 2-2-2, but then they do a 16, 18, 2-2-2, and then again, so he's in all season. But yeah, it's just, there's no point in just swapping around these sort of rubbish well, not rubbish, but like these sort of players like that, because, you'll get rid of them and then they'll get a brace or something like that. So, mine's not wasting sort of messing around with defenders and keepers and stuff like that. And like, again, Liam said, and I put in my article, I put 5 suggested choices. They all got some points in. Or my main option was not to do anything. But I think I was trying to be too smart. I think you were the same, because we'd seen that Newcastle might play a potential Friday night up ahead. Was like, if I have Callum Wilson, even though he's not great and Newcastle are very defensive and he might nick a goal or an assist or something, it was like, I can cover a captaincy potentially. But I've decided now, and this is going to be harsh for these teams, right? But if there's a Friday or Monday game with Fulham, Brighton, Newcastle, West Brom, Sheffield United, Burnley, Palace, and possibly even Leeds, I'm not going to bother. I just don't want that trash in my team taking up a slot where I could have someone else. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got Højbjerg. I'd rather just have 5 points every week rather than, I'll bring in a midfielder from West Brom who'll get me 2 points, and it's a transfer. So there's going to be so many Fridays and Mondays, isn't there? I just don't know. If it's obviously Man City versus Fulham's on the Monday night, then, well, we'd already have that Man City player. But I just don't think I'm going to bother, because 9 times out of 10, you bring someone and they don't do anything and you just waste the transfer. Then you're kicking yourself, you wasted the transfer. The only ones I can think of in recent years was, I know Luke, who we had on Friday, the Godfather, he brought in Delafeu when it was Norwich v Watford, and he got a brace or a hat-trick or something like that.
Hat-trick, one on a Friday night, yeah.
He got like a 50, and you're like, that never happens. Like, you normally bring in someone and he'll get 2 points. You're like, that was a waste of a transfer.
Did he score 4? Was it 4 against Cardiff or something? Or a hat-trick against Cardiff, something stupid like that, wasn't it? Like last year or the year before. Something like that.
I can't remember, mate. Yeah. But like Liam just said there, but not wasted bothering with these sort of lower quality teams on these single, it's just not worth the hassle, I don't think.
Well, thank you very much for that, Dan. Yeah, and I think as well, when we're like holding on to players, right? So one of the reasons you choose a player, or should choose a player generally, is because they've got a very extended run of good fixtures as well. It's very rare you choose a player with like just 1 game in mind or 2 games in mind, right? You'd look at their next maybe 4, 6, 8 games, and if after 2 they haven't done it yet. Obviously, see how they look, right? But if they're looking okay, they just haven't had the the kind of luck or returns yet. You've still got that 6-game run that you yourself highlighted to actually get the points in. So I think that's a really, really, and use Grealish, as an example. Martinez, so he's blanked in his last 2 or 3, was it? Back tonight with a 9-point away to Arsenal, and next week they're home to Brighton. So you choose a player for like a run of games, not just a couple of games. So. I think I would add on. So I've got a couple, obviously, as we've just talked about then, right? So don't waste transfers on match days that you don't really want the player in for the long term. As you mentioned, Dan, if it's teams like Man City, Liverpool, Spurs, you're likely going to have the key men in anyway. So I've only done that once out of my 6 transfers this season. I'm really annoyed about it, but it's only one transfer, so it's not the end of the world. I think another thing that I'm learning this year and is to maybe look at fixtures in a slightly different way to kind of normal. And I would use Son as a prime example here, right? So if you look where Son has scored all his points, they've been away to a certain kind of team, decent teams, right? So Man United, Southampton. I know he's got his points against. He scored against Burnley, right? But that was just his only shot of the game, right? And he has struggled, in his last 3. So he struggled against Burnley, he struggled against Brighton, and he struggled today against West Brom. Now, to me, the game we've got next week, Spurs got next week against Man City, for example. For me, Son is far more likely to get some points against Man City than he is kind of against these teams that get like the low blocks. So I think and Son's record against Man City is really good as well. So I just use him as an example. Obviously, you have to use your own kind of analogy onto how it fits into your team. I would definitely kind of look at it's not just about having a sea of green fixtures. It's about looking at the fixtures and the players and where their kind of strengths and weaknesses are. Look at Bruno away from home to home, right? So he hasn't scored a goal at home, I don't think, this season. I don't think he scored many last year, whereas away he's completely unstoppable, just as an example. So I think I'm starting to kind of look at the fixtures in a bit more of a different light like that. And just to highlight, and I know Paul is massive on this. Well, all you guys are. You're right. It's the importance of price points is so important. Not to have to use 2 transfers to get the player in you want as well. So having the price points in your team so you can get to anyone really quickly. I actually think it's quite easy this year because you've got so many cheap players who are performing really, really well. It's not that hard to have in your 4 sort of premiums at the moment. If you've got Kane, Salah, De Bruyne, and Bruno, which a lot of people have got, you basically got everything covered, right? So Liam, what are your thoughts on learnings of so far this year?
One would be from a second team is when you're bringing a player, have a look at their injury record, their tendency to get injured, because we've seen the amount of injuries this time. Yeah. Another one was kind of highlighted is, especially for defenders, there's been a lack of kind of clean sheets this year. So it's important, I think, with your defenders that even if they do concede, that they have a chance to get passing bonus or tackle bonus. Because you think the defenders we talk about all the time, Diaz, Laporte, Zuma, Gabriel, Dallas, the one thing they have in common is they get bonus points. So even if your team concede 2 or 3 goals, that they still have the ability to get you points. Like for instance, I think Alien yesterday, Leeds conceded 4 goals and Alien conceded he got 5 points. Like that's really good. So always have back in mind when you're picking your players that will they get tackle bonus, have a high chance of getting passing bonus. Like I'll go 2 examples here. Like you got Digne from Everton, he's 8.6 and he hasn't got any tackle bonus, no passing bonus. So if you have him, if Everton concede, well, that's you gone because he's not going to get you any passing bonus, no tackles. And same for like Semedo from Wolves. He played 5 games, no tackle bonus, no passing bonus. So like you better off trying to get somebody who could get you points, because see, over the course of the season, if a player is picking up the tackle bonus, passing bonus, it makes a huge difference to your score. And especially like if like your striker's all blank, and if you have a clean sheet wipeout, well, these players who pick up the extra points, they add to your tally a lot. What's the other thing I have? I forgot. I have a few other things. My mind just escaped. But yeah, that's a big one, especially defenders, like, because your defenders are going to be there from like the whole year. So it's best to get one who gets regular pass points for the whole year, get these steady points. That's why my good friend Diaz from Man City, he was the first player in my team, both my teams. You think a Man City player 9.1 passing bonus, it's 3 points a game, so that's equivalent to him getting an assist every game. And you think he's 9.1. You look at the previous stats. I think I had Otamendi in 17-18. He was the 5th highest scorer that year. I think he outscored Raheem Sterling. Laporte, I think he was in top 5 too. So like these Man City defenders, they're very, very good to have. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. I think that's everything covered.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Some really good advice there for everyone, guys. And in terms of your bonus, if you join us every week, you'll know that Paul reads out all the bonus stats every week. And this helped us highlight players like Gabriel, Diaz, Dallas, all the Højbjerg, Romeo, all these players who score between 2 and 8 points, probably averaging 4 or 5 points nearly every year. I couldn't believe Aylin scored 5 points as a defender with no attacking returns. I mean, that's just insane, and we'll come on to some of the questions now, but actually we may as well move on to them now, because the first question we've got, no, it's not. It's not the first question. We had a WhatsApp question through from the Hub WhatsApp group. Is the Leeds defensive experiment now over? And what to do with Dallas and Ayling? So, Dan, can I ask you that question? What to do with Dallas and Ayling, or Dallas or Ayling?
Yeah, I was thinking this morning that I need to get rid, but hopefully we'll get some fixtures coming over this international break to set us up for the next 2 or 3 weeks or something. But yeah, I need to get rid of him. I can go up to about 6.8 million for a defender or a mid or something. Probably look for another defender, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I'd rather have someone like Ben White, or someone who's going to get. I just don't know. Leeds just letting so many goals. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Like, what, 8 in the last 2? That's not what I signed up for. I take it they're not going to be top 6 now, so off Leeds for me.
Okay.
Yeah, really. Really. Well, then I know it sounds harsh because Dallas scored on Monday, didn't he? And he was the captain. I was buzzing with that. So it seems weird that within the space of 6 days he's gone from that was pretty good. They let him 4 or whatever, and he scored that many points, and then it's like, no, he needs to go. He's dead to me. But I don't know. That is worrying. But then I think one of you two was saying that, what's his name? Calvin Phillips is back soon, isn't he? So that should help shore things up a bit. So maybe we might hold fire. So we'll see.
They've also got a fixture swing, I think it's FPL game week 12, so it'll be Sky game week 14. Okay, it's a little while off yet, but their fixtures, they've got a sea of really nice defensive fixtures for the next kind of 8 or 10 games after that.
Dallas will be staying for me long term. I think yesterday's game was a bit weird, because anytime Bielsa's Leeds go up against a team that plays 2 up front, he plays Dallas in centre midfield. So he done it against Sheffield United earlier on this season. So he could have easily picked up Ayling's points yesterday had he been playing fullback. But I think Alioski was playing there yesterday. But how many teams in the Prem play 2 up front as well? I think it's only really Everton, Palace, Sheffield United. I can't think of many others, and that's when Richarlison's playing. But so I think at that price point, and again maybe to Liam's point earlier on, is that he's picking up, he will pick up bonus. He didn't yesterday, but he will continue to pick up bonus, I think. I possibly wouldn't have them both, but
I'm really surprised that everyone is looking to jump off. I think on Monday when Dallas scored 9, I think Ayling only scored 1. Obviously they conceded 4, right? And I think yesterday Ayling scored 5 and Dallas had -1. So if you look at that on the game on Monday, so Leeds conceded 4 and they averaged 5 points each. Look at that yesterday, Leeds conceded 4 and they averaged 3 points each. I still think that's pretty decent because they're not going to concede 4 every game, right? And their fixtures haven't been the easiest. What are your thoughts, Liam? If you held both Leeds players, would you be tempted to get rid of one, or what? What are your thoughts?
I think people are kind of acting too fast. It's kind of like Dan said that Martinez was transferred out of 5,000 teams. They lost, I think, 4-0 last week, 4-3. People say, for God, take him out, bring him in. But I think for Dallas, he's a season keeper. His last 5 games, he got 3, 5, 7, 9, -1. For a 6.5, 6.4 defender, 3, 5, 7, 9. You're not going to go too far on. And if you transfer him out, up until the overhaul, how much extra points that player going to bring in? If you save that transfer, you could use for a striker. I think people just sit in their hands. Just Dallas keep Ailing. He's 7 million, so. If you have budget, maybe try and get him Zuma. He's only, I think, 0.8. Or maybe you could take Elon out, maybe get Højbjerg, or else you can bring in Paul's friend, Romeo. But I think people are kind of reacting too much to these kind of mass scores. It's a crazy season. So I think just think of the long-term goal. It's a long season, but Dallas I'll definitely keep some in my team.
Cool.
I have no plans to take him out. No plans to transfer him out. Elon, yeah, it's up to you.
Oops. All right.
He's a bit more expensive, so if you could, yeah. Well, that's my thoughts, yeah.
Cool, thank you. One word answer off each of you. We had a couple of questions, and Tom Hartles has asked it. Chilwell or Diaz? Liam, Chilwell or Diaz?
Diaz.
Dan, Chilwell or Diaz?
Diaz.
Paul?
Same.
Yeah,
Diaz.
I'm Diaz as well. All over Diaz there. Okay, we had a question from FPL Heavyweight and Sky FF. Do we jump off Spurs with the bad fixtures, or are we still expecting returns? Liam, I'll come to you first on this one. Obviously dependent on how the fixtures fall, right? But
True. I think Kane will stay in my team most of the year. He's on penalties for the 6 Spurs, just to get a penalty. Like Salah today, didn't do much, got a penalty, got a goal. Højbjerg, yeah, I have Højbjerg, but I'm thinking I might take him out. So I'll explain my rationale behind it. So when you've Højbjerg in your team, he's just in there to get your pass post tackle bonus, okay? So he's 7.4. So my plan would be to get Zuma. The reason I get Zuma, because Zuma does the exact same thing as Højbjerg. He gets passing post. He gets, usually had passing tier bonus. And also he's the option to get clean sheets. And Spurs now fixtures are turning, so they're getting a bit tougher. So what worries me today is that he didn't get passing bonus against who did he play today?
West Brom.
He didn't play against West Brom. He didn't get the last day too. Who did he play Monday last week? Oh well, for the past 2 games, Højbjerg had to go passing bonus. So I'm thinking, he's only got there to get passing bonus, so I would just change it to Zuma because he's going to do the exact same thing, and also his opportunity of getting clean sheets and goals too. That's one thing. I wouldn't go near any Spurs defenders. I would keep Kane because Spurs, he's main man the match. Højbjerg, you can keep him, but I think I plan to move on.
Yeah, I've got a bit of an argument against that, if I can argue against the champion. But Chelsea's next few games, so they're away to Newcastle next. Obviously, really nice game. You know, expecting to do that next. After that, they've got Spurs. Now, I wouldn't expect Chelsea to keep a clean sheet or for him to get the bonus against Spurs. After that, they've got Leeds. So even though Leeds are conceding a lot of goals, they control the game a lot. They have a lot of possession. I don't think, even though they've lost a few games this season, I think they've had the most possession in every single game, and they tend to score most games as well. And after that, they've got Everton away, who've obviously got Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, etc., etc. So
I think you've changed my mind.
I agree with your point.
I
agree with your point in general. I would maybe just have a look at the fixtures, I think, is all I would, is all I say. I agree with you that Spurs is, are not the best. So Spurs next 3, they've got Man City, Chelsea and Arsenal, right? But at least you've got a kind of outside chance of tackles or maybe even assist or something with Højbjerg. I know Zuma's scored a few, but, he's not going to get that.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised Højbjerg, he's only got 1 yellow card this year. I thought he would have had 2 or 3 by now, but
Yeah, agreed.
That's another thing for viewers. If you get more than 5 yellows, you're out for a game. So we'll come to that. I think Johnny Evans on 4, but I think Romero, he's on 3, 4 policy.
3, yeah.
3, so yeah, just bear that in mind upcoming next few weeks.
Good point off Phil Speck as well. He said so. Zuma more likely to be dropped as well. I'm not sure about drop, but he's going to have a rest soon because he's. I want to say he's in the international squad. I'm sure he is. He was in the last one, and currently they're playing every 3 days as well. He just can't play every game, and you've got Rudiger, Tomori, Christensen just kind of waiting as well. So whereas Højbjerg, obviously they are playing every 3 days as well, but he's I think he's far more important to Spurs than Zuma is to Chelsea. Arguably.
Sorry, mate. I was going to captain Zuma on Saturday because Paul had talked me into it a bit, and do you know what I mean?
Even though Paul captained Bruno.
But then
I don't know.
Yeah, he was saying if he had Zuma, and then I thought, passing bonus, clean sheet. But the only reason I didn't was because I thought Zuma had played 6 games and something, or in 2.5 weeks, and he played the full 90. So I was like, God, this could be the Sheffield United. No offense, they're not great. This is where they might start Rudiger because he's now made up with Frank Lampard, ain't he? So I was like, I don't want to captain him, and then he don't even start. That'd be a nightmare. So that's why I went Bruno, and how lucky was that?
The ownership would have killed as well. You know, a lot of players, based on Bruno's ownership, would have been captaining him as well. So even though I said that I possibly would have, hadn't thought about it, and then seeing Pogba not starting as well.
That's what swung it as well. Someone, I can't forget who it was now. Was it Nathan in our chat, or someone had said he does better basically when Pogba's not starting, and I don't like Pogba anyway. So when I saw Pogba went starting, it's like, right, let's have Bruno. But yeah, I'm not sure it was Nathan. It was someone in our fantasy football hub chat WhatsApp said it. So I was like, yeah, we'll definitely go for him then.
And Bruno played. Lucky. He played right in the number 10, right behind the striker all game. He wasn't in the left or the right. He was right there, wasn't he? Yeah. He's really good. Couple of
not as good as Maguire.
No, obviously not. Man of the match, Maguire. A lot of 88 and Glenn both said Thiago Silva will have a rest before Zuma does. Potentially, yeah, agree with that. But I think Zuma is going to need a rest as well. But yeah, Paul, question from Sam Sky FF: with pay-per-view being scrapped, what to expect the fixture layout to look like post international break? Really, really good question there, Sam. Look at that, Paul.
To my understanding, that all the games still have to be televised. So it's just the fact that there won't be pay-per-view. It'll still be a similar setup. I think that's what the case is. So it'll just continue as is, I think.
So it'll be kind of a Friday, potentially a couple of games on a Friday, and or the Monday. I think when it wasn't pay-per-view, there was one game on the Friday, wasn't there? Then 4 games on the Saturday.
So at the start of the season, they'd before the pay-per-view, at the start of the season, they'd allocated it. So I think it was 10 Fridays and
that was right.
I don't know, 15 Mondays or something like that. Whereas that's not the rules anymore because Sky and BT don't have all the TV rights for the games. So
cool. So we're still thinking, Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, Monday evening. Apart from that 1 week in December, which is going to be absolutely amazing, where there's also games on the Tuesday and Wednesday, probably be the Thursday as well. So we're in for 7 days of football. I think it's the week of the 13th of December through to the 20th, and then we will also be in for about kind of 9 or 10 days of straight football. Then from a little bit later on going into January, it's going to be absolutely mad. And and to Liam's point earlier, and Ian Parron always says in terms of planning, that's the time you need transfers, not now, like the one I stupidly used on Friday. I could have saved that transfer and used it potentially, for, let's just use an example, right? Arsenal home to West Brom on a rogue Thursday night. I could have used, that's probably a much better time to actually use it. I'm not sure about Arsenal actually because they're crap at the moment, but you take the point. But yeah, really good. Thank you for that. Paul, and a final one we had off Ian Parron, I think. Really, really good question. It's really topical one. Following today's split captaincy, I'm assuming he's talking about yesterday, but maybe a topic for discussion. How do we choose the best player in our team to give the armband each day? So a few of the things he said: do you look at history? Do you look at potential? Do you look at polls? Do you look at ownership, form, fixtures? And he says that's to name but 6 things. So quite briefly, I suppose, Liam, when you're looking at a captain, what are the 1 or 2 things that always stick in your mind?
The main thing is who they're playing. So, like, are they playing West Brom? Are they home? It's kind of like the potential too. As it kind of Dan said, that he could have kept Zuma. He could have got a clean sheet, past both 10 points. But then on the flip side, if they conceded, which it did, but then you think Bruno, he could easily get a goal, get shots bonus, he can get tackle bonus, get passing bonus, man of the match. So they're kind of things. And yeah, and I kind of take into consideration, are they penalty takers? That's a big thing now. Yes, it's pretty much that. So who they're playing, are they home or away, the form they're in, and are they in penalties, and the potential. That's pretty much what I go for.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Liam. Dan, what about you?
All of that stuff. So yeah, like you say, Bruno, when you see how much he's owned, and I don't know, to know that he was definitely starting, and there's so many factors in there. It's just all of that stuff. My main thing is you need to find someone. Like, we're all good at fantasy football, right? But it's whether your luck's in or not. Sometimes, I'm still doing everything I've done the same for years. Last season, just didn't have much luck. At the minute, I don't know if he's in the chat, but Tim Barry, lovely guy, great as Sky. He's having the worst luck. Everything he's picking, I'm not saying this to upset you, Tim, but if Tim says on Saturday he's captaining someone, I'm going for someone else because he's just had such bad luck. Yeah. I'm joking. But no, it's just mainly own it. Like, I think still at this stage of the season, like, you just got to just pick like the one who's going to cause you the most damage. So yeah, if you go against Bruno on Saturday with his ownership and what he can do, oh my God, like if he does what he does, then like you're dropping a lot of places. So it's about sort of protecting yourself. I don't know, really. It's just there's so many factors in there. You just got to take everything into consideration.
And Paul, what are the 1 or 2 things, mate, which you would pick?
I've completely changed this season. I now, at this stage of the season, only play ownership. Like, the captain. When I picked my overhaul team, I looked at all the calendar, because when it was overhaul, I think we had the 3 weeks worth of fixtures at that point. We knew what games were on the Saturday, Sunday, and either the Friday or the Monday. And I looked at every game and said, am I covering the most owned captain? Perhaps missing a West Brom Burnley type scenario, but on the whole, have I got the person that's going to be captain the most that day? And I can make up where I was hoping to get an edge is picking up the differentials on the bonus players around the 6 million or 7 million mark that kind of make up your team, the enablers. And just play the ownership only. It might change in the second half of the season, depending on how I reevaluate my goals, whether I'm in contention for some mini leagues or overall prizes, or do I need a differential, or can I keep playing like that? So I might change that, but certainly at this point of the season, and I now would continue to do that in future seasons as well. Right at the start, just have the most owned player for captaincy every time.
So thank you, Paul. And Tom Hartle agrees with you. He says, yes, I've taken your ownership advice, Paul, and it's paid off this weekend. If you didn't have Bruno or Kane, you'd be a bit behind now. Absolutely right. I kind of agree. Well, obviously agree with all of you. All really good points. I think one of the things which I look at, and I think we touched on it with Luke actually on Friday's deadline stream as well, was this kind of multiple avenues of points as well. And this is why I love Bruno and I love Kevin De Bruyne, because they can get points in so many different ways. Even if they have, if they don't score, even if they don't get a penalty, even if they don't get all the attacking returns, they can still both get passing, tackling, etc. There's nothing worse than a 2-point captain, which is why I tend to look at players, who have got, aside from, if Kane has got a home banker like he did today, if Salah's got a banker like he did today, just as examples, you go with them, right? Absolutely. But other than that, I think ownership and, just looking at players who can score points in different ways. Will so win. With Calvert-Lewin and Zaha lately dropping in form, should I stick with them till game week 14 as both their next 3 games look good, or should I look to transfer them out? So, Will, this is a question we had, a little while ago, and it's, think, why did you bring him in, right? You probably brought him in with these next 3 fixtures in mind. They've both been, like with Calvert-Lewin especially, I think he's worked wonders because he's up front on his own. He's still been playing really well, and the next fixtures are mint. Keep them in. I would keep them in. And as Tom just mentioned in the chat as well, there's a potential Zaha captaincy on the 27th, so I would stick with both there. Okay, so moving on, we will just have a quick look at the podcast 11, which is it's hang on, it's just updated. Actually, it has just updated. So the podcast 11 is on 15,000th place, which is not bad. The points are all a bit skew-if because it's just updated, so all the points are a bit wrong. But we had decent week this week. Today we had Bruno captain yesterday. We had Patricio penalty save. We had Kane captain. We had Grealish earlier as well. We've held on to Antonio and James Rodriguez, which may have seemed mad. After the break now, we just talked about both those players run into some really nice fixtures, so they may be really good moving forward. We did do a transfer this week, and I kind of cheated a little bit because I put up to change Robertson to Gabriel, which so a couple of people pointed out on Twitter. You should have just done Mopai to Gabriel, obviously, because Robertson was playing today. So I actually did that. So we took out Mopai to Gabriel with a view after the break now that we may look to move on Robertson or may not, depending on what we decide. But quite happy with that team. So 15,000 rank overall, 38 transfers in the bank, 1.6 million in. So really good stuff there. And over the break, we'll highlight a few options for some changes there. But that's just a quick update on the podcast team. Mini league updates. Okay, so the Hub £500 League. In 10th place, we have Ryan West on 747. This is as of last night, so this doesn't include this evening's points. In 9th place, up 13 places, Matthew Hardin Connection. So had a hell of a day yesterday, as did Benjamin Lee, who moved up 14 places. So they must have had Bruno and Chilwell and goodness knows who else. Had some really good days. Oliver Colgan moved up 7 places. Colin Price is in 6th. Michelle Burnett in 5th. Katie O'Neill down from top to 4th. Christopher Forbes in 3rd. Sean Robertson in 2nd, and John McEwen back on top. So he slipped for a week or two, but he's back on top now. Many congratulations, John McEwen, who's currently top of the Fantasy Football £500 League, which is now closed, I believe, as well. So no one else can join at the moment. We will keep the updates coming every week. And then we have our 4 Nations League in 8th place. Again, this is of last night. So in 8th place, the Sky Podcast 11 representing Wales on 633. In 7th place, reigning champion 2, Liam Dorrian, 650 or 60 points there. Dan Cox, the special one, dropped a couple of places yesterday, Dan, 674. Paul McAnulty, 4th, House Husband's Fave. 4th place then, reigning champion Liam Dorrian, 687. Dan Cox, 3rd place with the chosen one. 2nd, Paul McAnulty, Housewives Fave. And I'm just in front, only by 4 points, but there's only 7 points between Dan in 3rd and myself in 1st. Obviously, Liam has got a couple of transfers in hand over me for sure. I'm not sure about the other guys, but he is waiting in the wings, so I'm not worried there. But at the moment, we go into the international break with Wales top of the table after game week 8. So doing it for the Welsh at the moment. I think I've used a transfer or 2 more than Paul, Dan, though, and definitely a couple more than Liam. So hoping to stay there. Quickly, we'll just touch on Andrew's questionable bet result from last week. So last week, Paul bet me that Tom Kearney, I could pick anyone in the Fulham West Brom game, and he picked out Kearney. I could pick anyone to outscore him. So I picked Mitrovic who got 2 assists. So I've got one beer back against the boys. So we're back down. So I only owe the boys a couple of beers now instead of going up to 4. It would have been if Kearney would have come through. So I only owe the couple now. So end of the season, boys. But I'm very, very confident of clawing it back. We'll have to have a think of what we can do for our next. So I think it's Dan next week. I'll be going up against. Okay, now we move on to our mug giveaway. So Liam, I truly hope that you've been listening throughout and you've got a winner. But as you can see on the screen, so for the hub now, we will be having some merch coming out very, very soon. There's this mug. There's also some really, really cool other stuff we will be selling on site and giving away on some of the podcasts, Fantasy Football Hub stuff. So Liam, what is your favourite bit of advice? Who has won the mug?
So the winner is Mark Brown, and his lesson learned was 3-4-3 formation, not always successful. Utilizing enablers with essential players is essential. Current formation 3-4-3, moving towards 5-3-2.
Magic. Thank you very much, Liam, and many congratulations. Was it
Mark Brown?
Mark Brown. Mark, send me a DM and we will sort you out and we will get your mug in the post. You are the first winner. Many, many congratulations, and thank you, Liam, for being such a superb.
Give me a pint now.
You a pint, exactly. In the mug. He can serve it in the mug, can't he? So finally, we come on to Dan's rant. Dan, what has upset you this week?
Just annoyed me. I've just been bounced out of the Knockout Cup, both teams. That's annoying. I was going all right as well, and then I thought I'd done all right. So that's annoying. The Bruno man of the match. Like, come on. No one's telling me that he weren't man of the match. Even when you watch a match of the day, when you see him set up Cavani for the third or whatever, and they're like, oh, that's why Bruno's man of the match. It's like, Maguire, like I said to you beforehand, I know he did that header to stop Calvert-Lewin, but come on. And the thing that really annoys me is they didn't even, on the Sky site, they didn't even put the name of the journalist who writ it. Because I normally try to follow them all so I can try and influence them or threaten them or something like on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just send them a subtle, like, you've been watching that game, Carl? I don't know, Kane was good when he man of the match, man. Just try and get the thing. But no one had put the name to it because I think they know they were going to get blasted for it. And even Alisson today, man of the match, and he had 2 shots and he let one of them in. The penalty went wide. He didn't save the penalty. Unless they've looked at it, I reckon someone's not watched it and thought, oh, De Bruyne missed the penalty. Alisson must have done a good save. So that's annoying. And I'm in lockdown now in England. That is annoying. Do you know what I mean? That's annoying. Most of the shops are shut. Do you ever go outdoors in your countries? You heard of that shop?
Oh, never, no.
It's like an outdoor camp. I'm not trying to be insulting. It's like an outdoor camping shop or something. That's still open. It's like, how is that essential? So that's still open. And I don't know if this is happening where you are as well. Everyone around here has put up the Christmas trees and lights. Oh. I could go out on my road now. I could go and film it. There's 3 houses on my road with the Christmas lights up outside. I like Christmas, but it's a bit. I know it's been a rubbish year, and it's like, let's have a little bit of joy. But we only had the pumpkin. The pumpkin's still in the food waste bin. Like, come on, we can't be putting the Christmas lights up. So I just don't know how I feel about it yet. Like, I love Christmas, but come on, you can't be having the lights up yet, can you? Surely.
Everyone will be bored of it, won't they, in like a month's time?
Definitely not a tree. Do you know what I mean? You can't have a tree up. I could go lights possibly, but you can't be having a tree up. Come on. And that is that's my speed this week.
Thank you very much, Dan. Some really good rants there. I agree with you on the Christmas stuff. I think, like I don't know what it's like in your houses, but when we stick up our tree and decorations and stuff, we have to move the kind of house around a little bit as well, to fit the tree in the corner. We have to move a settee over and all this stuff. And after a month or so, I'm just dying for my house back, and think now, what's the date? November I don't know where it is, and not 8th or 9th, wherever 8th. It is. My goodness, you've got that up for what's that, 7-8 weeks? Anyway.
Like nearly 40, 46, 45 days or something, isn't it? Well, that's till Christmas, so. But then I like to take ours down by about the 27th. It's like, get that back in the loft. Do you know what I mean? That's get the house back to normal now. So, yeah, it's a bit early.
Mark Daniel says Christmas is cancelled. Not sure what that. We just had a message in the chat actually off Lance Harrington. This is interesting, guys. I wanted to say how much I've enjoyed the podcast. It's my last week working on Sky FF after running every score update since 2011. So he's been doing it for 9 years. So a sad day for me. Anyway, good luck all for the season. Well, that Lance, what a hero! I mean, you're the one who we're waiting up for every night. You have thousands of us waiting up every night, to check our Sky score. So hope you enjoy whatever you do next, and many.
He's still listening to the podcast each week, though, isn't he?
Of course he is. He'll still be on the podcast.
Was it? Sorry, mate. Was it Lance who said about the pumpkin seeds?
It was Lance.
I can't find Lance on Twitter, yeah. So if you're on Twitter, Lance, tag me and make sure I follow you. I've kept some pumpkin seeds, and I'm going to need your help because I forget when he said to plant them, but he's going to have to talk me through this. So Lance, find me on Twitter, and you need to help me with these pumpkin seeds. Come on, can't just tell me that, and you've got to support me through it.
Absolutely. And Yvonne says, debated staying for the rant. Glad I did. Yvonne, are you mad? That's the only reason why anyone even comes on this stream. Stuff the Sky advice. Everyone just comes on for Dan's daily or weekly rants. We're having.
I presume they're switched off by then. When that's that time for them, I reckon half of people are switched off.
We're having a lot of calls for get Lance a Hub mug, and I've got to be honest, I can't think of anyone more deserving than 9 years of updating the Sky, the Sky scores. So Lance, drop me a message, and we will get you a mug. And thank you again for all your. Yvonne says hashtag MFL mug for Lance. Thank you, Yvonne. Really good stuff. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for supporting and interacting with us on this live stream. We did have some questions earlier, actually, on the chat around whether we're going to do any more deadline streams. So it was a bit of an ad hoc thing last Friday. I think what we kind of talked about was if we feel that it kind of naturally feels like a stream would be useful potentially. It's obviously we've all got families and and jobs and stuff, but there will be more. Obviously, when it comes to the deadline streams, we don't prepare an awful lot. So as long as everyone is happy just to kind of come on a stream, and just have a chat with us, basically, and we'll answer your questions, and we'll certainly do more of that. Lance just said...
I'm a bit gutted.
Sorry, mate. Lance just said, if anyone plays TFF, I've been doing every score update since 2001. Lance, I've been playing TFF like for the last 20 years. It's my personal main game. So thank you so much, Lance.
Lance must work at GFM.
He must. Actually, I just thought
because they run both.
Yeah, but they changed the provider for TFF this year, didn't they? I'm not sure if they've done the same for Sky, but anyway, we're prattling on now. So yes, we will do more deadline streams. We can't promise doing obviously every deadline, but we do need everyone who comes on to interact with us, and we will just have a chat and a laugh and discuss what is going on on the lead up to the match. Anyway, I'll stop prattling on now. Dan, where can people find you?
Twitter, Dan Cox 82, and please read my article in the Hub every Friday. That will help you along. Yeah, them two places.
Glenn says yes, more deadline streams. Dan's wife might let him do the next one.
Hang on, I'll just say I have to get to work. I have to get to work. I can't sit in my pants like you boys and work from home. So if it's early Fridays at 5:30, it's not for me. But later on, I could. We'll see what the fixtures are like.
Cool. And Paul, where can we find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty 1 MCANULTY.
Thank you. And Liam, where can people get hold of you, the champ?
Yep, they can find me on Twitter at Dorrian and Liam.
Okay, and thank you so much, Liam, for coming on. Some brilliant insight and advice as usual. We'll definitely have you on again in the coming weeks. My Twitter handle is at Fergie222. So this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel, and also available in all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please click the like button. We've only got 43 likes. Come on, guys. Get us up to 100 likes. There's 111 watching now. Get us up to 100 likes, please. And remember to subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast version and leave some comments. Again, this really does help us if you could rate it and leave some comments on Apple Podcasts or wherever else. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok are at FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky. Please follow and feel free to ask any questions. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you'll find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, up the stats, top player team reveals, and much, much more. We will be back next Sunday. Looking forward to Sky Game Week 10. We wish everyone a safe and restful international break. See you next week all. Good night.